Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Oh, turns out I was on mute all this time. Okay, never mind. Take two. Hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to Unocoin's weekly live session. And this is your host, Shambhavi, for today. And today we have an interesting topic to talk about, which is should you buy the dip, given Bitcoin has been in the dip for quite some time. For this, we have our special guest for today, Mr. Sathvik Vishwanath, the CEO and the co-founder of Unocoin, your favorite crypto exchange. So let's welcome Sathvik here. Hi, Sathvik. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Shambi. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Looking at the dip, something I was discussing with one of my friends earlier today, and I was just asking them about this, should you buy the dip? And then being a Bitcoiner, the response goes like, Bitcoin is perpetually is in always in dip. So no matter when you buy, just keep buying. And I was kind of like, oh, that's got to be my opening line for today's session. So Sathvik, to just get a quick head start. Um, uh, what is buying a dip for all our audience out there? How would you define buying a dip?
I would say when the Bitcoin price would have fallen from its all-time high or wherever it was normally since a few months, and if the price have dropped by 10-20% within the last week or anything like that, which very very short period of time. So if one is buying Bitcoin, I would say maybe they are trying to buy it in the dip. So you are supposed to either have a increasing trend or a stable trend before a sudden fall, which in the last 1-2 weeks itself. Um, Else, it's a long-term correction. I mean, if we want to call it as a dip, I think it has to be a very small period of time. I think the dip should have happened.
Yeah, but this dip has been quite prolonged, as we see. I think it's been there at this price mark since February, and I suppose, I mean, almost a month since.
Yeah, but it's going up and down as well, right? So
Yeah,
even just the last week, we had it up to $88,000. Now
yeah.
it's at 82. So there has been quite some ups and downs. And mid last month, in the month of March as well, we saw up to 95, $96,000.
Okay, so quick question. What do you think, what are the factors causing this sort of a price movement and like, keeping it stagnant around the 80s mark?
See, we cannot be very sure of that. It just means there is not enough buying pressure for it to continue rising its price, I think. But there are other macroeconomic conditions also, right? So it is not just the crypto market that is down, it's also the equity and obviously mutual fund markets and some commodity wise as well down. And then there is some the Fed rates that are getting affected, which will also to some extent couple with such rate variations by RBI in India. So, and then there are some tariffs which are being applied, which was not there before. So, whenever such kind of macroeconomic um, factors change, the market has to get used to the new thing to figure out the next new equilibrium. So, when that happens, people obviously are less concerned about crypto and Bitcoin, and they are trying to figure out whatever they normally do for their business and how the rest of the world is reacting and how they need to react and find their sweet spot of making sure there is some revenue. So when those things are a little bit more stabilized, I think everyone will again start eyeing on crypto and Bitcoin.
So, another quick question, Satvik. We often mention this that, whenever the macroeconomic factors are affecting the investment markets, that includes equity, mutual funds, and, all of these kinds, bond markets. So, how do we correlate it to the price of Bitcoin? Because, essentially the factors, the base factors for these two, asset spectrums to work are very different and vividly different at that. So, how do we kind of correlation there?
Yeah, it's definitely. Um, See, I have seen like whenever there is a sudden decrease in normal financial markets, we definitely see that reaction in crypto. But after decrease, even if the normal markets become stable, the crypto will actually become decoupled with it. So that's what it has looked like that to me. And if that is more stable, then I mean, if there was no dip at all in the normal financial markets, there is a very good chance over a period of time. A lot of times it has happened that the prices of crypto have gone up as well. So sudden reactions, yes, it has some effect. But if you see long term, it's usually it's not completely correlated. I don't think so. I cannot see how it is.
Yeah, because from my understanding of it, which is very theoretical, it's not what practically happens, but rather theoretical. I mean, whenever people don't see much of an outcome in the markets like stock, bonds, and all of this, they get into the deep rabbit hole of things, then they move to Bitcoin. and this way I think it's sort of inversely proportional theoretically, but
Mm.
is it so practically? That is a major question, because we don't see that inverse proportionality over there, whenever we talk about market dips.
That still again does not mean if the financial market is going good, the crypto market will not, right? So if it is inversely proportional, that should also be true. So generally, if the financial market is going good, we have seen crypto market be much more bullish as well. But on the other side, like I said, for the sudden reactions, there is a correlation, I believe, because lot of factors that affect the stock markets does affect crypto as well. So once that particular, if few weeks of it is over, we actually see some decoupling, and uh, both markets take its own turn of like how it should progress. When if it is a if it is a time of uncertainty, both actually are taking its hit, right? But if it is more like a propaganda by some kind of celebrities and such, then I mean about crypto, then we actually don't see any reactions in normal financial markets, but we definitely see bullish trend in crypto. So so the crypto market is also not so large that whatever is happening crypto, how can you correlate it to financial market? That will be little stupid to do.
Mhm.
It's only the reverse where okay, there is financial market, this is the reaction, and how it will actually affect the crypto market. Sometimes the crypto market instantly reacts, sometimes it will react over a period of time, like 1 week, right? So this is what I have actually seen in the very recent past. uh, and it is true that there is some correction. This is definitely not the time that we are talking about where everything is going good. It's not true. It's like uncertain times for time.
Yeah, uncertain times indeed. Much like what Crypto Trailblazer is saying in the comment section, market is totally uncertain after Trump's involvement. And I think just in line with the same statement, Satvik, I have another question. I mean, this bull cycle, the only retail flocking we have seen is during the spike of Trump coin. And
Mhm.
the only spike that we've seen during this bull cycle, in the retail flocking was when the Trump coin was, in the market, was doing good. And other than that, we don't see much. So, what is your, you know, prediction would be a strong word. I would say anticipation for one such event for this bull run, because we haven't seen much of a retail movement
See,
along this.
when we're talking about retail, I think bigger part of the retail who have any interest in crypto likely would have got into this already. So they would have dedicated some hours, learnt about it, diversified some part of portfolio and all such. And um, if for let's say the price of $1,000 per Bitcoin, let's say, for that to become 10, yes, there is lot of, I mean, there is some retail that it can do. But if you're talking about now it is like 100K, can it become 500K with retail? I don't think so, right? So that kind of money doesn't exist with the retail, uh, really, for that to actually get pulled. And that too after the Bitcoin has survived since more than 13 14 years already, right? uh, so it's actually 16 years in fact. So after that, now it's not that time anymore. So now it has to be like, if the price appreciation is happening, uh, someone with lot of money, with lot of deep pockets, are putting into it. So that is how I would see it as. So that is why smaller events will not instantly like rise the price. um, today we are not at all excited if this 82,000 will become 85,000 tomorrow, right? So that the 3 or 5% or 4%, because that kind of variations we have seen. Yesterday we actually saw about, I think, 5% correction, right? So, but if you see in just the dollar terms, $4,000 per Bitcoin is actually a lot, quite a lot, right? So If it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago, so such a $4,000 variation uh, would have actually caused such a higher percentage gain, right? So we already saw a lot of public companies and hedge funds, um, and even we saw ETF, and all those things are kind of over already, right? Which actually whoever want to get in are in it, and whoever don't want to get in are not in it, right? So, and now can we turn the ones who are not into it to get into it? That is actually tricky, right? So given that the decision of they decided not to get involved when the price of bitcoin is lower itself, and when the price of bitcoin is higher, it's unlikely the decision will change and now they need to buy the crypto at a higher price. It's unlikely for something like that to happen. So because of that, we will have to wait and see which are those significant deep pockets that will actually take it into any kind of multiplier. If you're talking about 2x or 3x multiplier in the next 3 years, 5 years, that we still have to define who is that. Um, where the money is coming from. If the new money is not coming, then the price is not rising. How to see that?
Yeah, and just a fun question. Who do you think in India could be one of those in the list?
In what kind of list you're talking about?
The deep pocket list.
uh, See, here the more trickier part is, see, retail don't significantly care about regulation and rules and what is fine, what is not fine, because they are diversifying maybe part of their 1 or 2 or 3 or 5% of portfolio. Okay, and because thousands of people around them are doing, they will do that. But when it comes to someone with deep pockets who have billions of dollars in assets, so them diversifying some money into crypto, so lot of times they are required to answer many people. Like they will either have a board or the trust or whatever the formation that they have done. And lot of times when it is already going good, then diversifying into crypto for the sake of earning money will always be a challenge. Like, why now? It will come down to that. So but on the other side, the ones who are struggling can use this as a mechanism to try to get back on track. But again, the question comes down to, is now the good time and when is a good time? So if it is already like a unstable boat, just doing one wrong decision and getting into it, and then not able to if the price drops and if it doesn't come back for next 2 3 years, which a lot of times happens, right? So then it could actually sink the ship as well, if the company is already not stable, and they still want to diversify in this, thinking that they'll be able to pull it together.
Hmm.
So now it'll all come down to the acceptability rates of the law enforcement agencies and regulators and taxation departments and all such. If it is all like not proper, not clear, right? So if one is buying Bitcoin, then should they get a GST invoice for the entire price of Bitcoin? We still don't have the answer for it, for example, right? So those kinds of things, they will um, it's kind of becomes extremely tricky, and they usually kind of little bit keep it away, right? But that is not true with a lot of other developed countries. They have some taxation advertisement and regulatory rules already in place, right? So it's unlikely the deep pockets to help the prices of Bitcoin and crypto will come from India. In fact, for whatever huge and comparatively huge things that have happened in India, hasn't really affected the crypto prices, not even by a few percentage on that day, even irrespective of how significant event happens. And that is also because we don't have that kind of trading volumes. We don't have our fair share uh, of about 16 or 17% of world's trading volume. So if we account for about 20 or 30 million dollars worth, then globally we are talking about 15 billion dollars worth. It is technically supposed to be like maybe 300 billion. So which means if it is 15 billion, then we are literally talking about 50 times or something like that, right? So that is the whatever we should have, we have 1/50th of it in that way, if you see.
Yeah, that would be a great share. But always something that I know it's very hard, and it might not be the case, but I think if somebody is going to be adapting to Bitcoin in India, that might kind of influence the Indian audiences. Maybe somebody like Nikhil Kamath. I don't know for sure, but I think these kind of people in the financial market hold the power to influence the mass opinions. So,
It's actually a little tricky, so because um this is a market which is not like very stable, very predictable. So will those people really put their name behind a market like this, and if it doesn't go in their favor, can they risk the reputation?
so far as I know, so far as I think, correction, I think they already hold some bitcoins. They're just not publicly there
They
about it.
holding they holding is completely different.
Yeah, but yeah,
They
coming up
hold some
with
part of real estate, some part of gold, some kind of commodity, some kind of crypto, of everything, because well, they have enough wealth to diversify into everything and also have a small percentage of the wealth we put into crypto. That is all fine. But the moment when they need to put out the word about like why they think it is correct, or how they believed it to be the way it is, it becomes quite tricky in nature. So once you get that kind of popularity, it's they'll be actually like very, very cautious. See, for example, if someone asks me to promote some random ICO, I'll be very cautious with it, even though I'm in the crypto industry, right? So they may actually do better, but I still would not risk my reputation today, right? So similarly, if you see someone in normal financial market, and that's how they actually see the entire crypto industry, so they will not risk the reputation. They may invest as well, but still they will not risk the reputation, because it's an unpredictable, unstable market for time being.
yeah, I mean, from the outer surface layer purview of it, yes. But something that I've been very eager to do for the past some time, and I think I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but I really want to do is have a little debate discussion, having a Bitcoin maxi on one side and having a traditional finance maxi on the other side, and have them both reason, because now I'm on the other side more, like the maxi side more than the traditional side, while also having some understanding of the traditional finance market. So I really want to put in both the perspectives and see which one's making how much sense and for what kind of people. Because as I see it, it's lack of understanding the ecosystem and the kind of regulatory perception associated with it, more than the idea of investing in it, or I don't know, if somebody like Nikhil Kamath calls Bitcoin risky. I mean, I would be really doubting the intellect of the traditional financial market mavericks at that.
I don't think so. I would say they're just being cautious about whatever they're trying to do, because they're trying to tell anything positive because of the influence that they already have on people. People will just really flock on it. So when we have seen, for example, talk to me about Dogecoin, what Elon did.
I mean,
So
Dogecoin, yeah, we all kind of know that.
yeah,
If we,
so he used his reputation. Uh, I mean, I'm not talking about Dodge today, but I'm talking about like whatever happened about 2 years ago.
yeah,
So he used his reputation, and people like so much flocked onto it. But now, uh, what whether he did money or not is different. But uh, with that kind of influence, so many people are losing money, right? Because of the after he said whatever he said, Bitcoin price I think went up to about 50 or 60 cents. Now it is at around 20ish or 10, maybe 15ish. So that happened, right? So then there was some Shiba Inu cycle that happened. right? And then there were Trump coin itself that happened.
Trump coin indeed.
So now, did whatever Elon did or whatever Trump did, is it correct or not? Will be a question, right? Because they said whatever they can say to you, and they use their influence to make people do what they want them to do. It's like maybe whether you call it as an advertising or advising.
Okay, just to be a devil's advocate over here, and I'm just wondering what would it have been like if instead of Doge and Trump coin, these guys would have talked about Bitcoin.
See, when it comes to Bitcoin, generally it is a little bit more sturdy than the other altcoins, right? So when, for example, Elon, right? So when he started promoting Bitcoin, I think the price of it was about 10 or 15 cents, example, right? So within a very short span, it went up to 50, 55 cents, something like that. So then we are talking about 3x of what it was just before this thing happened. If they try doing it for Bitcoin, can Bitcoin become 3x?
Not 3x, but I think it positively impacts the way people are looking at Bitcoin. So that really
So
is the game of.
which essentially means the people who want to take advantage of this kind of situation, they'll only be able to take that advantage if there is like a in percentage significant impact on the price.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So else why would they do what they do? They just
I
how they
mean,
were
that's
able
the kind
to
of
monetize
business.
it. We may, I mean, we won't know. We may not even be able to ever know how they were able to monetize this. But whatever happened, there will be some people who would have definitely got some gain out of it, right? And at the cost of many other people who would have lost the money.
Yeah, to a great extent, yes.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, while influence and I mean, if we are solely basing the growth economics of Bitcoin on gaining information on your own, don't you think it'll get trickier and trickier for the adoption to grow? Because, I mean, there's only a certain percentage of the citizens that would be intellectually at the level to understand it. Rather, I mean, because we know that it's a hard game, and we know the crowd in India, the mindset and everything.
That's definitely true. And if I have to even think about our own Unocoin customers, right? So how many people really have understood what is Bitcoin and how it works? It will be a very comparatively a smaller percentage itself. So either a friend is influencing or some relative is influencing, colleague is influencing, parents are doing it, siblings are doing it. So I've been the the major source of first source of information for them. Uh, and a lot of times it's also true when the price of it is really giving good gains, then they want to learn how come I got rich the lot, right? So then I want to learn. Or if you lose all the money, what did I do the mistake? Let me learn, right? So it will. It's true. Not many. I mean, bigger part of percentage will be able to understand why Bitcoin is like how Bitcoin is different than, for example, UPI. So it's you don't know where to start the story. So
Yeah.
put it that way. Okay, so yes, when it comes to the influencers, people again um, uh, completely fall for the face value of the person who is influencing it. So then they fall for the face value of the person influencing it. Lot of times people end up with wrong decisions, right? So if their favorite hero is drinking, for example, Coca-Cola, then it's an influence, because not that you want to drink Coca-Cola, because they are drinking and he is someone you look up to, then you want to mimic it as well, that kind of situation, right? So in that way, I think someone influencing it will spread or make the awareness little faster, but it is bad for ecosystem still. So if it takes its organic or time for it to continue growing, that's usually more healthier. But a lot of times these influencers will take it I mean, we'll try to make quick money out of whatever they have, right? So can they make that kind of money with something comparatively more stable? Definitely not. So they need to identify something which is unstable so that they can shake up the price and make some money out of it.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, we are doing just fine. We've gotten, if you look at the 15-year trajectory of the Bitcoin price growth and the power law that associates, the upward trajectory we see for the future, and everything seems just fine without even these influences coming into the picture. And anyways, I think when the time's right, these people are going to flock to the herd themselves. But anyways, I mean, I find it quite surreal that the people, if I have to compare two versions of me looking at the current dip, and this version of me is one version being the 2020 version Shambhavi, and then there's the 2025 version Shambhavi. 2020 version Shambhavi would have like, oh, the price dipping again, this thing is so unreliable, don't know what's happening in the market, no reason for the price dip, how do we rely on that? This version Sham was like, oh, the price is dipping again. How much cash do I have in my bank account? Let me just get in and get myself some more sats. So I think education and information definitely turns the whole, it inverts the way we are looking at things. So that is there, but I think, yeah, for it to become this, it's a long path to it. And most people, I think, lose interest halfway through, quarter way through. So that's where the fall mostly happens, in the top level of the funnel itself. To getting into the top, deep bottom of it, it's a challenge in itself. And I think much resources not being out there also serves as a daunting challenge.
Yes, that is quite true. But the biggest issue when it comes to crypto is when a new person gets into crypto, they want to become rich extremely soon.
Yeah.
Else they are not getting into crypto at all.
Yeah, that's disappointing for them if they're not getting rich quick.
Yeah. So that is one of the main reasons why someone would pull the plug in between, right, before they actually see the gains that they actually thought they would. So if the price is stable, they don't like it. If the price is falling, definitely they don't like it. If the price is rising because they never thought what the target should be, they hold it, and when the price falls, again they don't like it. And we have to understand that if the price is rising, there's all chances that the price will fall as well.
Absolutely.
So it is, and when you, I mean, a lot of times it's also true that, see, I actually thought of buying it in 2018. If I did it, it would have been like this. So just in the 1 year itself, in the first 6 months itself, I would have made this kind of money, right? So people who are on that wall of whether they want to do it or whether they don't want to do it, they actually monitor the price way more closer than someone who are into this long term, because at the end that doesn't matter for someone who is in long term. So, and a lot of people think that they'll be able to time the market and make a better gains than the market itself. So instead of trying to go for long term or even medium term, they will believe that themselves that they'll be able to make money in the very short term. And because a lot of others also make money, why I cannot? And they'll get into this thing, right? And when that does not happen, for some people it happens. For some people, for many people, it doesn't. For people who happens, they will try to exit some part of it. Very few of them, and the rest will just continue. Most of it, right? To see where it goes. Anyway, I have invested thinking that I'll not be able to make gain. Anyway, now 100 has become 500, and even if it comes back to 100, I don't care. Example, right? But for the ones who invested when just before the price dip, they will try to pull the plug because, okay, I invested so much and it's already down by 30-40%, and I don't think I'll be able to take this kind of stress, and I don't want to lose this kind of money because this money matters to me. So they will do that, right? And the ones who pull the plug in between are the ones it's very unlikely they'll return back to the industry, right? The ones who got into this long term are not significantly contributing to the growth of the industry. Yes, you are holding it, but you need to have the volumes, you need to have If you have volumes, then there are exchanges around it, then there are custodians around it, then there are maybe like the security companies around it, compliance companies around it. So all of that will happen when there is not just everyone is sitting on their Bitcoin, but when there is some trades that's frequently happening as well. And when it comes to the long term investors, they say, okay, now it is at 82,000, then okay, my long term maybe I was thinking about 120. But when it comes to 120 as well, they will not take a decision. Sometimes they push it forward and such, or sometimes they just exit whatever is the investment and keep the remaining. So in this way, long term stability when it comes to crypto is, I mean, long term stable mind for people when it comes to crypto is less only from what I've seen. So there are different reasons why they get in and different reasons why they get out, and when they get out. So it's and I mean, none of these people are looking or understanding what is crypto, what is Bitcoin, and why they should stay invested into it for longer time than what they anticipated. So they will not go get into that. They'll always compare it with other financial markets, compare it with gold, for example, right? So if you see the all-time high since 2021 to all-time high now, so it went up from around $70,000 to around 108, right? So for 4 years, it's 40% or 50%. It's not that big of a deal. It probably is even worse than the normal equity and gold markets. Yes. So and an average it gives, but which part of the time you're invested in completely depends on you.
Yeah, I was just about to say that it highly depends on when you got into the market, and even the people who got in it at 69 just doing fine, because I remember my first purchase out of my first salary was after the FTX crash around at 16,000. So I think whenever people say this around like you get Bitcoin at the price that you deserve, I think I find myself quite fortunate then because I eventually got in at a very good mark. But yeah, that certainly makes a difference over there. From all time high to all time high, of course, there's a, I would say higher lows is the term used to define that in the graph, or lower highs or something like that. Basically, the difference of price. I'm not sure the exact terminology for that, but something like that.
The higher lows is more like whenever you are getting the low and again the price is going high, again it's a low. But if you see, compare the low to next low to next low, then the price is on the uptrend. So higher lows is better.
Okay, higher lows. Okay. And with Bitcoin, I mean, 4 years of gain, 40%.
Or 40-50%, I think, right? So
Yeah,
pretty much that's where we are at right now. But if you only consider the all-time high of 2021, but if you maybe consider that time, it could be different.
yeah. I mean, that is, I agree with that, because after that there was a dip and a lot of people got into it. After that, a lot of people might have gotten. I think great chunk of people got into it at the time. It was about 35-40 during the ETF launch, because that was kind of a major event for Bitcoin. Also, quick question, Satvik. This dip, does it affect the sentiments around these ETFs, around MSCR, and all of these? I would say, I don't know what is the phrase to be used for this, but let's say, the four BTCs.
See, I would not see them differently. No, at the end, that is the Bitcoin price that we have because of everything. So whatever is happening with normal markets in crypto, I mean to say normal crypto exchanges, there is some similar trends. Prices, I mean, obviously prices will be very similar as well when it comes to the ETFs. And um, so ETF is not different from crypto because there is just a it is just the way it is traded is defined in a little different way, regulated way, but it is not different. It is actually one and the same thing. And just that the people who are doing the trading in normal equity markets have a very easy access to to do the crypto as well for them. So it's also sometimes I think even though ETF did something good in the initial terms, um, in the long term, the ETFs actually gives some kind of stability to crypto as well, like Bitcoin and Ether. And when that is given, the the risk reduces, and when the risk reduces, its reward reduces as well. So whatever was happening comparatively on a free market, so now it is not that free anymore. There is uh, more regulated and stabilization that has already got into the Bitcoin and crypto already.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also one interesting thing that something that I see right now in India, we don't have any ETFs as such for Bitcoin. I know that's a very far fetched dream to have it. At least I think in the next 5 years, it's very hard to see something like that. But even when we look at the US, other than the initial waves of the few months, I don't see much happening there as well in the news or anything. I don't come across things often. I'm sure. I mean, they're doing great with the portfolio 1% part, but considering the same thing in India, do you think asset management firms in India are going to consider having 1% of their consumer portfolios diversified into Bitcoin?
So see again, the bigger challenge here is not having enough clarity.
Yeah.
So definitely the asset managers won't mind risking 1% of their money in crypto. I don't think that's a bigger challenge. But do we have all required um, clarity in place? I don't think so. So now, even if that 1% will become 2%, which means the entire portfolio will go from 100% to 101%. For that, can they put the client under this kind of uncertain, unclear circumstance? Will be a little bit of challenge. And again, it comes to down to the reputation of those wealth management companies. And from what I also know, those wealth managers, according to the licenses they will have from SEBI and such, cannot directly say, okay, you can diversify a part of your portfolio into crypto. It's usually not the case. It's usually when the client themselves ask for it, maybe the wealth managers refer saying that it is not related to the wealth management, but there are these kinds of companies where you can just go and consult at your own risk. That's what it looks like. So that makes it very tricky for people who already are sitting on some wealth, because they already have the wealth, and if they have already invested huge amount of money with the wealth manager, that is definitely not the money that they need for living themselves, right? So those things are sorted, right? So, and there is some kind of stabilization in their livelihood and lifestyle with their family and all the required we say educations to healthcare and everything and whatnot. So will they be super comfortable to get into this thing which doesn't have the proper clarity? On the other side, when the wealth managers are already capable of earning about 10 12 to 15% returns on a yearly basis, because that is what the equity markets and some commodity markets have given. So I think people will be much more happy with that already, not to take on something new just because there may be a little slight uptick in the total income, and there again that is happening at higher risk of very unstable crypto markets. So yeah, in India, I would not be surprised to see it's like not being super friendly for time being.
Yeah, regulation wise, it is indeed very tricky. But as of late, I've seen a lot of interest growing towards this in India, and hence I wanted to see your perspective on it. While the regulatory spectrum remains very challenging, I think there's a growing interest there because everybody's growing. When we look at the US market, when we look at different countries, Indian market also wants to grow, and the only bar to that, and the only, I would say, the only pebblestone challenge, I say pebblestone, I call it a pebblestone challenge because it's really small, but it's really tricky to remove. And once I think that is cleared up, we might see a good amount of retail interest flocking in again in India, because I think India is a retail market when it comes down to investment, while HNI still hold the major portion of the investment side. Retail is what needs more empowerment on the financial horizon.
That's true.
Now, one quick question, Satvik. Since we are almost at the end of our session, we know something called as the alt season, and it's been very prevalent in the past few cycles, but we haven't seen one so far in this cycle yet. And whenever I'm scrolling through Twitter, I come across tweets saying, ki, "Oh, okay, now it's gonna kick in next week. It's gonna kick in 2 days. It's gonna kick in a month or so." So, is it going to kick in really, or what's happening?
See, when it comes to all season as well, right? So one season kicked in because of lot of ICOs coming in, and then there was one DeFi craze,
And then there were NFTs,
and
and
then there were NFT craze, and now there is some layer to craze to some extent in between as well, which is like a comparative thing. So now, like, what is that it'll create?
I remember last year it was supposed to be the AI coins as anticipated, but I don't see anything AI coins happening like that. I mean, World Coin did come.
Why do AI need coin? See, like when you say DeFi or when you say NFT, I understand the crypto aspect significantly there. But when it comes to AI, it's not like without crypto the AI will not run, right? When it is the NFT or DeFi or ICO, yes, it doesn't run without the blockchain, without the coin, without the token. So the AI is one industry. So there are some specific coins which are serving the industry, and we have tens of thousands of coins already which are serving different parts of different things, and about 90% of them is already dead also. So that's what it will come down to, I think. Mm, so what is that it will trigger the next wave? We don't know. So till we have that figured out, so just saying okay now it is altcoin because all the altcoins apart from Bitcoin went up. Like why is it going up? And now a lot of, and I think before the proper bullish cycle for Bitcoin, I don't think we actually would see an altcoin season. Unlikely, very unlikely. And lot of the things that altcoins could do or is capable of doing today, there are layer one and layer two solutions on top of Bitcoin, which is all doing it. So instant payments, so without waiting of the confirmations and such. So there are already like lightning networks and such things. And then if it comes to smart contracts, there is one. And then if you have tokens on top of Bitcoin, then we already have a solution for it. So for all those already exist, right? Uh, so it'll come down to what is that you can only do with altcoins, but not with Bitcoin. So unless we have very strong narrative around that, I'll not see why instantly altcoins will become famous. And would not call it as an altcoin season unless at least the dominance of altcoin, which right now I think it stands at around 35-38%. It should go beyond 60, right? So the Bitcoin will become less than 40. So unless that happens, you will not call it as altcoin season yet.
Yeah.
So, and I actually wish it won't happen again and again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, because even I'm not a big altcoin season fan. I remember at the start of this bull season, I was talking to a fellow friend and a crypto trader, and he happens to say this to me that usually there's a capital rotation, which means the first the capital flows into Bitcoin, and then to Ethereum, to the top 10, and then to the mid performing assets and things like that. This time it's going to be quite the reverse, where all of these are going to go in an opposite direction, and eventually all the money flows into Bitcoin, because he gave me quite a good reasoning for that at that time, which I don't exactly remember to explain it to the people right here. But yeah, I see that happening right now, because I know my friends who've been very bullish on Ethereum used to call themselves Ethereum maxis, literally on their Twitter profile, Ethereum maxi, Cardano maxi, Solana maxis. All of these people are now writing Bitcoin maxing onto their profile and just putting all their money into Bitcoin. And I think,
They put maxi because they invested maximum money into it. That is not the reason why you would call maxi.
yeah, I know, right? Maxi is somebody who believes and
Yeah.
invests, goes all in because they believes that, okay, this is what we are, all into. And yeah, I believe I have given my heart, mind, and soul to this particular thing. That's when you call yourself a maxi. So yeah, I see a lot more Bitcoin maximalist this bull cycle than I saw last cycle. So that's maybe a positive sign. So I think to quickly, just to have a quick ending note to our session, Bitcoin's gonna be perpetually in a dip, so it doesn't matter when you buy, because against the fiat ecosystem, there's exponential growth which we can't even possibly imagine. So
So if you're talking about so 2025, then everything that happened between 2000 say 15 to 20, everything was under dip only, right? So um, if the theory works, yes, there is no bad time
to buy
to
Bitcoin,
buy Bitcoin. And if the theory doesn't work, it didn't matter anyway when you bought it.
yeah.
So if you want to buy, just buy now. Else, don't buy. That's it. So it's not, you cannot time the market. It's too tough, and one should not be bothered about that small percentage or 10%, 5%, whatever difference. Saying that okay, that's exactly what the amount of money I want to make. Then you are not into Bitcoin. Right? So it has a different meaning altogether.
Yeah, 100%. So, thank you everyone for joining in today's session. Thank you so much, Sathvik, for your time and insights for today's session. So, we'll see you again next week, probably same day, same time. Till then, stack sats, stay humble, and have a great weekend ahead. Bye bye, everyone.
Yeah, take care.